Hi there, you're watching East Asia Tonight on CNA. Now, the PR chief in the middle of the PR crisis at Baidu is now reportedly unemployed. It's the latest twist in a viral story in China that has hit a nerve with youth fed up with long working hours. Qi Jing, vice president and head of communications at Baidu, posted a series of short videos last week. And speaking of her devotion to her career, strict management style, and unflagging demands on her direct reports, the self-defined career woman shared her personal sacrifices as a working mother, gloating that she forgot her elder son's birthday and what grade her younger son was in at school. And in another video, she lashed out at an employee who refused to go on a 50-day business trip during the COVID-19 pandemic.
为什么要考虑员工的家庭？我又不是她的婆婆，我主要需要考虑的是她能不能在她的岗位及时的给我交付结果。我又没有要求她周末陪着我出差，我也没有违反劳动法，因为那个时候疫情非常的紧张，我们必须要算着红码绿码出差，出了北京就不能进北京，所以连续出差50天，时间最合理、最优化的方式。那我比你大10几20岁，我也没觉得苦，没有累。我有2个孩子，我没有觉得苦。你有什么资格跟我说你老公受不了了，需要你回去？
Reports in Chinese media say Qi has since departed the company, and videos have also been removed from her personal Douyin account. In a personal statement on WeChat, Qi apologized for causing what she described as a big storm. And she wrote that she read all the opinions and comments from various platforms and had reflected on them. Well, the PR executive admitted that the videos had been posted without Baidu's knowledge and contained inappropriate points. So Baidu has not commented. And for more, let's bring in our Hong Kong correspondent, Deborah Wong. Chinese media report that Qi Jing has now left the company, but not surprising that why the backlash is so bad.
Well, you know, Telly, at the heart of it, it really is a very emotional issue because the entire episode reignited the debate of the 996 culture, or what we know as 996, which is 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days a week kind of a workplace practice. And it is notorious because it actually led to a lot of workers collapsing and dying due to fatigue, due to overwork. And it actually led to the Chinese government cracking down on such a practice back in 2021, even though it is still quite widespread as we see today. And so, you know, Qi Jing, by drawing this out, by lauding that it is a good thing to work long hours, it is a good thing to work hard, it really didn't sit well with a lot of people. You know, we've reached out to Baidu for a comment. They are not going to be releasing any comments at the moment, but today they've also published an article defending its work culture and saying that, you know, the voice of public opinion will eventually pass and that the drive for self-innovation will never stop. So it is still quite an emotional matter, but they are doing some sort of PR quality control at the moment.
And so, Deborah, I mean, help us understand in general, right? Would you say that the high-level executives in these tech companies, they are also victims of the same toxic work culture that they are perpetuating?
Well, we have to understand that it's China's national strategy to focus a lot on innovation, R&D, tech at the moment. So tech companies, they are pressured to deliver because there is a national interest to do so. And we also have to remember that these high-level executives, you know, they started their careers, they joined the companies at the height of the 996 culture. And so that's the rigor that they were used to. You know, it has worked for them. They have made it to where they are today. So now that the demands are even higher, they also expect their subordinates to do the same.
In fact, an expert we spoke to says that it's a rat race trap. Connie Zheng, Associate Professor in Human Resource Management and Centre for Workplace Excellence at the University of South Australia, explains it better. So let's listen in.
I gather, you know, in our Asian culture, if your mother-in-law have been suffering, you want your daughter-in-law to suffer as well. And I think leaders and managers in China or even in Western context is the same. You know, I have been doing this, and that's how I define my success. Why don't you do the same? And it shouldn't be. You know, the world is changed, and we need to think smart. Sustainable workforce can only achieve when you look after employees. And when people, we always say the health is most important the factors contribute to success, because if you die, you have nothing left, right?
So hearing what Connie was talking about, is there then a sense that young people are put off from joining the tech industry because of this 996 work culture?
I wouldn't say so, not so much, because the job market in China is tough at the moment, and tech still remains a fairly attractive place for young professionals to go to because China is going big on innovation, on digitalization. So these companies, and what that means is that these tech companies are receiving government backing, government support to expand and to push out even more projects. So amid a very sluggish domestic economy, that is still a career choice that most young people are willing to make because they see that there's stability and that there's also potential to grow. I think even if most youth recognize that, they have to accede to tough working environments, they are increasingly setting boundaries. So because I was in Beijing a couple of months ago, I sat down with a couple of young graduates and they told me that, tech is still a place to go to. But during the hiring process, they list out their demands. They say that they want workplace flexibility, they want equitable wages, and they want a reasonable work environment as well. So for instance, if the work demands a longer time in the workplace, they are willing to put in that effort if it's necessary. But say, for instance, if a company asks them to take part in a meeting after working hours that may not be wholly necessary, or take part in team building activities, they may actually request to reschedule that appointment to during working hours.
So they do have, this sounds like they have set tighter boundaries there. But in terms of this work till you drop culture, what's the real cost here, and how sustainable is it, for companies that deploy that?
I think it also does have some sort of impact on population growth. So in the video, Chu Xing said she was working so hard, she forgot her eldest son's birthday. She also forgot what grade her younger son was in at school. So that is a very extreme example, but it is reflective of the ground sentiment that it's difficult to balance both family and career responsibilities. In fact, some companies in China, they are not keen to hire women. And if they intend to have children, that is also part of the hiring process. They ask women coming in, do you intend to give birth anytime soon? It's reflective of reflective of gender imbalance, and also reflective of some sort of rigid workplace practices. And it's it's exacerbated China's low fertility rate, long working hours, a lack of childcare support as well. So the government is responding by pushing out subsidies for marriage. They've restricted abortions, and they've also urged women to take on caregiving as well as childbearing duties. It doesn't quite sit well with young professionals because they say all these policies are pretty backward. So China does need to find a balance, even if it pushes for innovation, because people remain their greatest resource.
Yeah, not to mention that if you're over the age of 35, it's also harder for you to find jobs. Ageism right there as well. Well, thanks so very much, Deborah Wong, our Hong Kong correspondent, chatting with us.